Hello and happy 2022. It's still kind of weird. I hope you're all having a great time of your life. COVID is still here. It's going up and down, more up and then down. And we're here to stay and entertain you with the Sicilian series. I was looking a little over the comments on the chat to see how you like the Magnus number. I saw only a few people tried it, so hopefully you'll get the chance to try it more and let me know how you felt about that one. I apologize for the delay. I may or may not have dropped the mic in my tea. Sorry. And also, my 2-year anniversary is coming up with the YouTube, actually, because I think the first stream that I did was 2 years ago, around the very early January. So, yeah, I'm very glad to have been here for 2 years. All right, so feel free to let me know what you did for Christmas and holidays and everything. And if not, if you want to just stick to chess, we can talk about another favorite part of my Sicilian experience with kind of, I feel like, against Najdorf theoretically, because you know they would have to still play second move d6 for me to get what I want. But for those of you who also played bishop b5 earlier or later, that's cool too. I mean, after knight c6 you can also do bishop b5, but I have a different preference. So if you look back at 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago that we talked about Najdorf, it was with d4, right? So feel free to go take a deeper look at those. Today we're going to be talking more about bishop b5. And keep in mind, I'm not sitting here showing some super grandmaster crazy classical game. I'm showing you my personal experience because I feel like it's easier to talk about the game that you played, and it's more meaningful than to just show some other person's game, no matter how great it is. Oof, somebody played Dubov and got some whooping, huh? Yeah, sorry. She's a very great chess player, so can't I don't feel too bad about that. So thinking about this position. All right, so let's talk about, there are two different main ideas. I don't really consider knight c6 a huge problem because, well, first of all, you can simply castle and you can continue by, like, let's say castle. Oh, I can actually make Lichess moves now. The spell is broken. And then you can just, when is the right time, you can take, you can go d4. There are a bunch of other ideas like bishop f1 too. You do not have to play those if you don't want to, but they're certainly there. Is this Rossolimo? Yes, Rossolimo, yeah. But it's also, I feel like with bishop b5, the main thing is like you're not making any final decisions about the d-pawn's fate. So you're trying to see, like, hey, you want a d3 maybe, you want a c3 maybe, you want a d4 maybe. So you're kind of just postponing your fight in the center. So that's a great way to go about it. So first let's talk about bishop d7 a little. If I'm not mistaken, which I don't think I am in this case, I had this game played against, not this one just yet, but I do know I played against, yes, Bibisara. Different line, I'll show that too, but one of the games that I will be showing today is my one and only win against Bibisara, because, you know, she played so great in the World Rapid and Blitz, and she scored, like, wait, she won 1 gold, 1 silver, so it's about the right time to mention I won the only game we played. All right. Yeah, George, I wish I could take it off, but new rules, new policies. Make COVID go away, I'll take the mask off. But, all right. So let's talk about bishop d7 first. I'll come back and talk about knight d7 after too. So take is for sure, queen gotta take, knight takes, possible too, but it kind of beats the whole purpose of the move order that black just played. So a lot of the times, yep, what I was about to just say, we get this Maroczy pawn structure. I did a very long video, like 2+ hours on Maroczy a while back too. Feel free to look for that, watch that if you feel more comfortable with that. And yeah, so Maroczy bind. This is another way of getting to it. First, I'm going to show you a very pleasant game, then we'll show you the Bibisara game, because that was a little more kinky, I guess. Alright, so knight c6, and the best way to go about it was d4. Knight c3 is also a possibility, but d4 is what I chose. Take, take, knight f6, let's get this out. And now, in a lot of Marocys, g6 is desirable, right? Like this, getting this ginormous diagonal is better, and I agree with that. g6 is more annoying for white, so if you're playing this as black, think of g6, try to gain that big diagonal. And so yeah, in this game my opponent went e6. I don't think my opponent was too experienced, as I had like 300 plus on him. So yeah, in this specific situation I knew what I was doing. If you remember the traditional Maroczy structures, you know, there's a bishop here, there's still a bishop here, and the light square bishop is very constricted because you're going to play f3s too, and that's another, and b3s, and so your light square bishop is not really what you dream about at night. So I'm glad that I kind of got rid of it. But it also, without the bishop, these pawns are also kind of wobbly, so we'll see how this game I managed to get the advantage and how easily it is to not get it. So I'm just playing normal moves, and I think in this position I realized that I really wanted to punish my opponent for developing the bishop the wrong way, so I went for f4, and opponent should have considered take more seriously. In the game they went rook b8. I'm not truly sure why. I mean, maybe a6 b5 stuff, question mark, but I just continued with my plan, and now I simply went rook d1. Rook against queen feels strong enough, and in this moment opponent couldn't really hold it anymore, and they decided to just take on d4. Now let's talk about b5. What do you guys think? b5 good or bad? Oh, I see a statement about robbing banks. When?
Right after.
Which bank?
Whatever you want.
I have trouble deciding. I like US Bank. Let's keep him out of it. Alright. I'm seeing good, bad, good. That's fun. Well, the problem with b5, I mean, yeah, if you take it, yes, then they can take, and then they can enjoy this. Yeah, I get that. However, the thing is, you don't have to take it, so you can go e5. And if they take, hello, beautiful queen. Can't really use it just yet, but because of how much more control I have over the center, I would, you know, start to question the validity of all these pins. Exactly, this would be more pleasant for white. So yeah, my opponent didn't play b5, they just took, and they went queen c6. Taking with bishop I think might have been more accurate, following but like maybe something like this. I went with rook takes, and then I doubled up here. Yeah, I remember this. I was trying to decide which square to put the rook, and when to do g4, and I just could not decide. Oh my goodness, where to go? So g4, I think if it was me right now, I probably would have gone for g4, and then I got a little uncomfortable about e5, And I'm right. I mean, e5 is a little uncomfortable. I would probably have to do this, and they take, and then I take, and oh, good God, it is weird. And this is very unstable center. The only thing that is fixed is the d pawns, but I still have to deal with the e pawns, and I just didn't want to give my opponents that chaos. So I went for rook d1 and I started to put pressure. I think that was a fine choice. I don't think g4 was necessarily like super better or not. Maybe maybe I felt differently because this game was, when was this game? 2017, so 5 years ago. Ouch. Yeah, I recently realized that I'm way closer to being 24 than 23, and it started to actually hurt a little. Just a little, but so I went ahead and I booked a counseling appointment. Yay. Just to talk about aging. Oh boy. Yeah, my mom had me when she was my age. I can't imagine. It is crazy. Alright. So, chess. Yeah, that's the one thing I can control. So rook d1 is what I went for, and I really liked it too. And it was kind of fun because opponent has to do something with this rook. They gotta put it somewhere. And they didn't. They went b5. And that's where I started to gain a little bit more comfortable options. So I took e5 is also something I considered. Take, then I went to e5. They had to play either knight d7 or knight e8. Okay, maybe not knight d7 because, I mean, still some activity. But a knight e8 would have been the best one, definitely. And so in this game, they actually took, I took, and now knight e8. Now, my rook can get all kind of funny with the opponents. Knight e4 can get cute. Rook c1 is there. There are way too many options. I chose knight e4 because I really liked my rook stability. If it was right now, probably I would have went for rook c1 just because it would have... is there a better word choice than torture? I feel like I used that too much. Yeah, I would have tortured the opponent a little bit more. So, I just went... I should have went for rook c1. I went for knight d4. And they just kind of backed away, which, I mean, if I played rook c1 and they played queen a8, yeah, I might have understand that more. But with knight e4, I don't fully get it because I'm about to start going bananas on your king. So you might as well go like f5 or f6 or something and try to combat it. But they just kind of let me do whatever I wanted. And yep, they took over here, and beautiful, finally, rook d7. They played f5, which is another logical move. Queen g3, another logical idea. Queen e2 also seems to be fine, but it doesn't sit that right with me. First of all, yes, I'm attacking this, so you're not going to take it because I'll take, and my rook on 7 rank will be too nice. But if rook f7, then I would have to move this knight again, or do a move that is related to this knight, and I really didn't want to do that. So I went queen g3 to keep the pressure, exchange it off, and here, I'm going to take a moment and ask, what do you think white should do now? Because white does have a bunch of options.
Is this from Reykjavik?
Hold on. I know there is another game in here that is from Reykjavik, but no, this is Corsica.
And the names are right?
Yeah, this is the main one, this is the main name. But I have more games embedded, so there'll be more names. So, how do we feel? Knight g5 looks healthy, does it? What if they just get the bishop out? Or what if they just take it? The last thing I want is to exchange stuff off. What else? I mean, I'm a little worried about the black queen, but it's not doing anything just yet. I can't take because that will be painful. That's kind of the last thing I would want to do. So I do not want to do that. However, let me go back. If only I somehow managed to mess up with the opponent's ideas, I could do that. I see a bishop h6 in the chat, but let's say bishop h6. Okay, the knight is defending it, so what if they just eat this? Yeah, I'm not following. So I think the best way to think about it would be this rook is kind of being annoying, so let's just poke it. If they play rook f7, which they didn't, but they should have, then I can start getting a little funny with their pieces too. They take, I take. They can't really take because I'll have that. They can't really take because, again, I'll have back rank ideas. So then they'll have to, what knows what, maybe queen a4, maybe they want to go queen g4. And this would actually, black is holding quite nicely. So that's what they should have done. But in the game, they just took over here, and I took that, check, king moves, and they made a weird choice of taking over here. I don't get it. Taking over here would have made more sense. Yeah, it looks kind of scary, but I'm kind of running out of pieces to attack them with. So yes, scary, but not losing. This would have most likely helped the game. So I'm very grateful that they did not make this choice. And they simply just took this other pawn and allowed my bishop to survive. And I used that. I didn't use it to the best of my ability. Bishop a3 would have been the best of my ability. I went rook f1. And this is still giving black some nice counterplay. Queen e2, queen g4. Whoa. Queen g4. Why am I trying to get queen g4? Queen h5 or just queen e3. Just getting the queen closer would have made it a little harder on me. So, yeah, my idea of not having hanging pieces, this bishop was hanging. I should have just saved it normally, but in reality, I just went rook f1. So, queen d2. And here I finally started to play much better. And I started to pick up stuff, enjoy my game, maybe eat a little, block a little. Oh, thank you for that beautiful knight. And yeah, here the opponent just resigned. Cool tactic, huh? If they can't take it, because checkmate. Yeah, so, yeah, it ended nice, but opponents could have easily made me regret some of my choices. So, let's scroll a huge back. Okay, how much back do I want to scroll? Let's have a huge jump, actually. So, we were talking about knight c6 first, right? And then we were talking about d4 and then this e6. So let's look at a different move order. What if they actually go for g6 first? What would you do now? And oh my god, I think I have a cat here. You know, one of the beautiful beauties in life, living with a cat, is you will find cat hair in the most unexpected places and unexpected times. For example, in your mask. It's painful, right? Does anybody else have that amazing experience?
I think that's one of the main drawbacks of owning a creature.
Yeah, I agree. Hi. So yeah, g6. Now we can go for d4 again. That's kind of what I went for as well. And I mean, yes, there are so many other ideas too. You can start knight c3. You can... Actually, I mean, you've already kind of committed to c4, so sooner or later you're going to do the d4 anyways. So take, let's get that out. And yeah, so this is all theory, all normal developments. Black is trying to right now get knight g4, so I chose to stop it immediately. And then I realized black is really winking at my c4 pawn, so I tried to stop that immediately. Logical. And now, is it finally time to castle, or do we need to do a queen move? Oh. Well, I mean, at this time, castle is fine, I think. Yeah, I mean, the ideas with rook c1 also, yes. I don't agree with h4 though, because h4, what are you going to do with your king after? Yeah, let's go for castle. And a6 was played. This is a very classical Maroczy bind. Yeah, the pawn structure is just screaming Maroczy. So that's kind of why the way I'm playing has a lot to do with the pawn structure. I actually had a very funny conversation, well, very enlightening conversation, not funny, with one of my students. He was asking me about his son and like how much should the son know of opening and how much should he know the opening, and the son is like 6 or 7. And I was trying to tell him that, yeah, he should know some opening, but not memorizing it. And so I was trying to tell the father that, yeah, trying to kind of maybe focus on pawn structures. Like if there's opening with isolated pawn structures, it will be a good idea to know how to play with pawns, isolated pawns, against isolated pawns. And so, yeah, I think that's just generally a good idea to not just to memorize your openings, but actually know your pawn structures. All right, so a6, yep. And so in Maroczy bind, a lot of times we want to do rook c1. Eventually, we may or may not want to push for f4, possibly a knight d5 sometime. And keep in mind, this is a Maroczy without the light square bishops, so less constricted bishop, but also less protection for my light square pawns. All right. So what do you think is going on here?
Can you say that again?
What's the question?
I didn't hear you.
Oh, I just asked, what do you think is going on here? What do you think white should do? Yeah, and make sure to consider why opponents played the last move that they did. Gordon, I wish. Send an email to Missouri governor? Question mark? Mass questions.
Can you work on getting a pawn?
Well, that's kind of the idea. Yeah, I mean, as white, you're trying to see what pawn to push, when to push. And as black, black is trying to push maybe b5. Black is trying to play stuff in the queen side. And like black's bishop is very sneaky, so I have my fair share of you know, getting hurt by that bishop. So in the game I just chose rook c1. Like I'm just gonna not deal with any possibilities of with the bishop getting funny on me, so I'm just gonna go rook c1, which is a great move too. And opponents should have probably considered b5 more seriously, but they just went e6. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the Bibisara game. Oh, there were two different games embedded in it. Wow. Oh no, I am mistaken. This is not the Bibisara game. The Bibisara game was the knight f6 one. Yeah, okay. I remember that much. Cool. Yeah, this is the Reykjavik game. Okay, makes more sense.
Oh, this is Reykjavik.
Yeah.
Who's
And
the opponent?
this guy. Wait, isn't this the companies? Dougherty?
Not the same way.
Who did I play? Alright. So, after e6, Bibisara is a beast, I agree. She was scary. I remember I was playing under 18, and when she was like 14, she chose to play under 18. She didn't win it or get a medal, but I mean, just the heart to play it. Alright. Now, after e6, I simply just started to go knight f4 ideas. Now, the other way to think about it is just like knight e2 ideas, but or queen d3 ideas. There's way too many ideas in this position, but I kind of chose to go for knight a4 because of, well, outposts. I'm a simple woman. I like my knight in sharp positions. Alright, so opponent took, And I made the weird choice of playing knight b6 first. Now, I don't fully regret it, but I remember in the game I was like, oh god, why did I just do this? Because it would have been so much nicer if I just take this, and then they still have to deal with this square, and I can just simply, you know, my position is just more comfortable. I could have just went for that. But I got too greedy, and I still continued to get greedy. And I'm like, why did I do this? Don't do this. This actually is a bad move. Don't be greedy. Knight here was fine, and after that, opponent should have went queen d8. Because, well, if they simply played queen d8, then I did not have to... then, yeah, I would take, but then they can do rook c6. You know, they'll still get what they wanted eventually. I would have to bring the knight back, and I can go b4. Oh, ugh, not fun. But for some reason, I don't know why, I chose to just take it. Now, can you actually tell me why taking is bad?
Your knight is stuck, so you can cut theirs.
Sorry, what now?
Your knight is stuck.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. For some reason, I thought this was fine, and I greatly misevaluated the position. Yeah, I don't know why. But to be fair, I won the game, so smiley face. Yeah, I still don't know why I chose what I chose, and I made their bishops a monster, so that's kind of one of the downsides of what happens when you play kind of unfortunate. Yeah, I think the good language is unfortunate. When you play unfortunate like that, your opponent's bishop can get a monster, and doesn't matter how nice of a pawn structure you have, you are still going to have a lot of problems in your game. So I'm just going to show the next few moves really quickly because it's a very miserable position and my opponent had to be very generous. But this is one of those examples of slippery dorsa. It's been a few months since we had the segment of slippery dorsa because, well, guess what? Opponent had advantage, but they could not convert it. So here, for example, bishop h6, bishop e3 was the better choice because now, yes, this bishop is in a very beautiful diagonal. However, this bishop would be way more useful in this diagonal. So making those little decisions is why, or I guess not making those little decisions is kind of why opponent's position got a little uncomfortable. So he went bishop e5, and I remember I was thinking, okay, so when do I get to play c5? Do I need b4? And I kind of had to play c5 now and give up the pawn. And I remember I saw this, but I made the decision that this is too uncomfortable. It's too one-sided. If I'm lucky, I'm gonna get a draw, but I have no real ways of getting tricky. So I could not get really slippery. So I chose against c4. I went queen d2. I was trying to play b4. They stopped me, and then I went for f4. Trying to push a little. They have very clear ways of wanting to punish me for my really crappy game. And so, yeah, I'm still trying to kick and fight, okay? I'm gonna go a little faster in the next few moves because the main thing I'm trying to do is develop. All I'm trying to do is get the pieces a little more comfortable and make my opponent question their choices. So, and I feel like I did a great job because I'm making them question what they're trying to do. For example, knight f6 would have been a better choice, but they went knight g7. So they made a slight inaccuracy. And finally, I made a great move. Oh, finally. The idea with rook d5 is simple. You have one rook, and your rook is very active. I want to get rid of it. So that way, after we exchange it off, like that, then I might actually be able to use this open file. Maybe I'll be able to use these pawns. That'll at least give me some ideas. I don't have to sit there and just wait for you to do whatever you want. So, queen c2 was played, yay. And again, a lot of the ideas that the engine presented and presents is about exchanging the queens off, but I don't agree with that. I feel like if I exchange the queens off, then there goes any hopes of advantage I would ever have. If I want to be tricky at any point, I cannot exchange this off. Also, yeah, fianchettoing the knight is kind of fun. So I went for a4. And see, like again, they probably should have tried to open up a little more that way, but they didn't. And I'm slowly trying to build up some advantage. If I were black, my first choice would be bishop b2. Like, I don't care if bishop b2 is not that great looking. I need to stop rook c1. Rook c1 gives my opponent happiness. I want to take away opponent's happiness. That's as simple as it gets. So he went h5, and again, rook c1 was still a little too hasty. So I think I still should have done it though. I went rook e1 because now I'm trying to go for e4 and e5, and I finally got it. And now we've been avoiding the queen exchange all game. Do you think queen e4 is a good idea at this moment? Ooh. Chessbonzo, if you're watching, thank you. Why am I anti-happiness? Oh, I love happiness. But me first, not my opponent. I like all the happiness to myself. Alright. Oh, Chessbonzo is watching. Nice. Yeah, queen e4 is actually a nice idea. Queen e2 is also fine, to be fair, but queen e4, it was a good choice. Take, and opponent has to move this guy. Because if they take, I'll be extremely happy. Like, thank you type of happy. Oh my god, this would be so cool. So they, of course they didn't. They just went bishop d8, and I started to play a little more active, finally. Ideas with g3 and b4 are there too, but I feel like rook c4, it's just like you had to do it. Oh my god, why am I doing this? Did I seriously do that? I think I may have done that. I give up. Why did I play that? I don't understand why they play rook e4. Maybe I was trying to take or play e4, e6. Okay. Rook c8 is better. Even g3 I understand more. Even b4 I understand more. Rook e4 I don't know. Maybe I think I was in time trouble and I was just trying to get to the move 40 to get the extra 30 minutes. I can understand that. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Finally, b4. So funny thing though, I'm trying to play b4, so black should actually stop this. The black didn't, so I got b4. Happily ever after for me. Yay. Finally, move 40. I got the extra time. And now, how do you think we should try to continue to try to convert it to a win? I mean, Borges, so if we're playing together, then yeah. But otherwise, you can be happy. Let's see. Hello, Nikki. Well, I mean, in that specific situation, yes, black could, because the pawn was also on a5. Yeah, let's just get pieces activated. King g1 just yet, maybe, I mean, it's fine, but I just didn't want to deal with the check. I really wanted to attack some pawns. I was greedy. I was young and happy. There we go, finally. Some oomph. I finally am getting the king active. I don't know, why can't I just let that rook be? Like, that rook is just so fine. Can I just let that rook be and just bring the king? Why am I doing this to this poor rook? Anyways, yes, I wanted to play king f3 and I was worried of knight d4. Well, I could have just played king h3. Ugh. Anyways, rook d3 is still not a bad idea. The only way rook d3 would not be comfortable is if actually opponent plays g4 to stop me. See, a lot of these ideas is simply about, like, g4 on its own has no purpose except to limit my options. So it's not just me who wants to take opponent's happiness away. So does my opponent. They're not going to let me play king g3 or king f3 or king h3. But they didn't. They were nice. They wanted to keep me happy. Thank you. Really thank you. Amazing, awesome. And I finally activated the rook for the last time. And we're gonna go a little bit more active. No more back. And this is just very comfortable. I just played d6, and I think after knight f8, I think they just resigned very shortly after. Yeah, I just managed to activate the king even more, and voila. Yeah, like it was one of those games that you just like, oh my god, what am I doing? And I still regret some of the choices. And like they were relatively high rated too. They were like 2180 FIDE rated, so you know that's a very respectable rating. So thank you, Mr. Dougherty. And yeah, so the biggest thing I can tell you about this game was just block what the opponent wants. Every single step of the way. They could have blocked what I was trying to do. Okay, not every single, but for a big part of it, they could have blocked what I wanted to do. And they didn't. And they just granted me all the happiness. Alright, now I'm gonna jump, make a kind of a huge jump to Bibisara's game, which was, she started with knight f6. And here I obviously had prepped because I really wanted to beat her. And so I went for knight c3, she went g6, everything is logical, everything is theory. Yeah, the one thing that I found kind of weird is this early f3 when there's no bishop on e2 and there's a queen on d7, because they really want knight g4, so I really have to play this f3 before I can play bishop to e3. After castle, bishop e3, and yeah, this early rook c8 was a little new to my eye at the time. So what do you think we should do? It is Master bind, yep. Is it time to go b3, or is that too early?
Is there a way to dislodge that bishop on g7? Maybe move the queen up behind the bishop, your white bishop?
Is attacked.
What?
Your pawn on c4 is attacked.
Queen d3 is a maybe, but with queen d3 you also have to be careful, because then it can get a little uncomfortable with the knight development.
No, I mean right behind the bishop.
So f2?
He wants queen d2 for bishop h6.
Oh!
Yeah.
Queen d2? Nice. Queen d2 is one of the possibilities. In normal Maroc-C we usually do it, but in this specific one I don't think we can just yet. You do have to defend this guy. So b3, you kind of have to go for it. Queen d2 will come up sooner or later, because not necessarily with the intention of bishop h6, but with more control. Because when your queen is on d2, you're controlling more ideas. You can try to swing a rook under it too. So opponent went e6. I have really horrible experience with this diagonal, so I just went rook c1. She developed, I castled, she continued her development. Queen e7 though, queen e7 I'm assuming it was just for the purpose of relocating the knight. I don't think I have a full grasp on it just yet, on why queen e7, but I continued with my queen d2 idea. And here she went rook d8. I think I out-prepped her because rook d8, I don't know, or maybe she out-prepped me, because rook d8 was definitely not a common idea. I just continued with my idea of development. I could have taken as well, and then bishop g5 it a little, but I think I was more comfortable keeping the tension in the center. I think I'm more comfortable with the idea of letting opponent decide for themselves rather than I make the decisions for them, because if I take, then it's already decided, they just have to take back. But if I just keep it here, then they're the ones who have to decide if they want to take it or not. So I just continued with rook e1, and now I'm doing a little bit of relocation. My idea is usually, so there are different rook placements in Maroc-C bind. you can try to have these two, you can try to have these two, or you can kind of try to have these two. It's really hard to decide which two to choose, so I wish you the best of luck if you're ever there, but it's usually easier to decide based off of what the opponent is doing. So if the opponent, for example, had a queen on a5, then yeah, I would probably go for these two. Or if they kept the rook on c8, or if there was any indication that they were prepping harder for b5. But because they're also kind of switching to more of a center than a queen side, I kind of did the same idea. For example, here she played queen f8, and I'm just like, huh? Yeah, I couldn't really connect with what she was trying to do. Like, I feel like she was also waiting for me to make decisions, and that's the hardest time when you're playing Maroczy, because you don't want to rush into pushing pawns, you don't want to rush into committing to a certain idea, but you also have to choose something. So I went rook d1. In hindsight, probably I could have played the other rook to d1 and kept these two. To be fair, I think that might have been more accurate, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with this rook either. So she went b5, took, and here I was like, I really want to eat that pawn, because having that extra pawn, yes, they will play d5 as it happened in the game, but having that extra pawn, if I can actually fight to keep that pawn, this is two connected pass pawns. That's going to be worth way more than any other pawn on the board. So I made a decision to be greedy. To be fair, it was a World Youth Championship, and I really wanted to win, because any point gets you closer to the medal, so I really wanted to win. And I did, to be fair. But thank you. Yes, I'm sitting over here literally just eating pawns. Yeah, eating pawns is a good diet. Alright, so knight, I went for knight take the pawn, she went d5, and here I think I should have played e5. I still don't feel like 100% comfortable with it. If my rook was on c1, maybe, yeah, but again, if the rook was on c1, the knight would be under attack, so yeah. So I probably should have considered this more seriously, and then knight d4, and then like I'm trying to keep the center steady and start pushing that guy. So I didn't. I went for queen c1. She moved the knight away. Again, I think rook c8 would have been better. She moved the knight away, and I played queen b1. Oh boy. Yeah. A lot of weirdness here. I remember I spent a good chunk of time trying to figure out what to do. a4, e5, knight c3. Way too many options. The problem with e5, after knight d7, this guy and this guy is under attack. So if you play f4, this guy will drop. If you play a4, then this guy will drop. So you have to choose. And if you're going by, I want to stay greedy, then queen b1 makes sense, because you stay greedy. Hello, ghost of beauty. And in the game she took, I took, she played knight g4, and to be honest, it is a little scary. The opponent's position, opponent's pieces have more harmony. The only thing that I was kind of lucky about was this queen was so tucked away. If this queen was even a little bit closer to the game, I would have probably paid very dearly. So I went bishop d4, take. Yeah, and after e5, I'm gonna ask you, should we move this knight, or should we try to kick this guy away? Why does queen b1 make me greedy? Because I was holding on for dear life to both the a2 pawn and the e4 pawn. Why not knight e3? Wait, what are we talking about? So I played h3. Ghost of Beauty, kind of depends on the level that you're playing chess. c3 is tricky, it's interesting, but it won't pay off forever. So All right, h3, that's what I went for. Taki, and they went knight c6. Gotta defend the pawn, right? And they're also opening up the queen, so that's a little scary. I think I made a pretty decent choice here of relocating the horsey. I'm really glad I did that, actually. This knight is much better looking on d5 than in b5. And they went for queen d6. Now, queen d6, I think it was too chill. One of the best, well, actually my strongest piece is this knight. So if they could get rid of it, I think that would be a better choice, right? Because if I end up taking, they take, and they have a pass pawn. I have connected pass pawns too, but my pawns are way farther out. So it would be a better idea to try to get rid of this knight. And if I do give check, and maybe try to keep it around, then there's still, this is a nice target that they can attack, right? They get a lot of tempo out of it. This is they definitely have compensation, if not more. So she went queen d6. I would also like to do a slight bragging and mention that my opponent recently won the World Woman Blitz Championship, and she got silver in the rapid. So thank you. Yeah. So yeah. She's developing, and I also decided to follow her lead. F5 was just weird. Sorry. Yeah. So let me give you a little bit more of why I was thinking what I was thinking. We were trying to. Because I have extra material and I have a very cool pawn structure and connected pass pawns, it would make a lot of sense for me to be able to diffuse their attack and then start pushing my pawns. But they have to be way faster and way more efficient than me, because I already ate the pawn. I'm happy with what I got, but they have to follow up. They have to show me that the pawn that they sacrifice is worth it. So there's a question on what are we doing here. Well, Sicilian was the idea. We're going for opening, but I'm trying to give you a sense of different middle games and different weird stuff that can happen after the opening. So in this game, she went f5, and f5 was just purely wrong. I just got a good position after it, and they just got the weak king, and I was very happy. I have very funny horses. Ooh, how many pawns am I up? Just 2? Man, it feels more. Alright, and I'm just trying to simplify, and there's not much after that. I'm just eating stuff. Okay, you know what? I may have spoke too soon. Here, why didn't I just go knight a4? Ugh. Anyways, I went knight b5, and after some takes, kind of funny because I can't take. There's a rook d5. Kind of hurtful. Anyways, I went a4, and I got the king active, and every single piece that I have is better than what she has. So that's kind of why I ended up winning the game. So yeah, beautiful. And I'm still hungry. Yep. Yeah, resign. Come on, girl, resign. There we go. She resigned. And yeah, my prediction was initially correct. If I could survive the attack that she was going to bring on, I could easily win this game just simply because of these 2 pawns, connected pawns that she chose to give away here. Alright, I'm going to squeeze in another game. Now, instead of bishop d7, let's look at knight d7. And we are going to probably go a little bit faster here. I really enjoyed the Maroczy bind structure, so I really wanted to play the same idea. Knight f6 is a possibility, bishop g5 is interesting, but the theory on it keeps going up and down weirdly. So rook c8 is very more common. Did she cry? Not that I saw. So why are people interested in seeing me make my opponents cry? Alright. So I'm really enjoying this Maroczy bind pawn structure, and knight c3 it is. There are multiple ways black can play it. Knight f6, e6. If you want g6, then you have to go knight f6. There's bishop g4. There's too many cool ideas. And if you take a look at the Masters database, e5 is also a fun one. My opponent played h6. Now, h6 was a little weird, if I'm being totally honest. But this was an opponent that I had played earlier. I beat this opponent a year before this game. And yeah, we were playing in World Youth Championship 2014. Oh my god, that's like 8 years ago. And I managed to beat her, and she was like one of the top seed. And then we played together next year in the World Junior Championship, and she really wanted to, get revenge. So she played h6, and after that, I simply wanted to actually go for my understanding of this position. There are a lot of things that could have happened differently, so I'm just going to give you a quick overview. For example, e5 is a very common thing that Anand had to play as white against Navarro. Kivani's played as white, and it's just a lot of really great chess players. Not even e5. Let's take a quick look at maybe queen c7. I have another batch of pretty decent 24 plus players comfortably having played it. Another, for example, knight f6. I have a bunch of 2600s, 2400s playing different lines. So what I'm trying to tell you is that there are multiple ways that this can be played. So you don't need to, of course, you don't need to know every single way that it's played, but you need to have a basic understanding on how you're trying to get your pieces out. So, for example, let's talk about the h6 real quick. I castled, she went for e5. Now, it's important to know where your queen should be. In this specific pawn structure, because they get e5, you can keep your queen on d3, right? So, with this funny queen d3 idea, you can continue with getting bishop out, maybe queen side. So there are lots and lots of different ways of playing this. So here black played knight f6, and I simply continued with my b3 ideas. Similar pawn structure, right, as the other games that we just saw. Different knight placements, different bishop placements, but the pawn structure is very, very similar. After queen c7, to be fair, this was also slightly prepped for to be able to stop b5 ideas. And finally, this is what I'm trying to go for. So bishop e3 was a very comfortable one for me, and rook d1 is coming up. So, oh yeah, maybe knight d5 is another idea. In the game, she went b5. I don't know what is it with my opponents, just they love b5. I'm kidding. I mean, that's one of the big things black can do in this pawn structure. So b5 is coming anyways. Anyway, after b5, take, and again, because it's me, I love my pawns, I ate it. And to be fair, this may have been a little exaggerated pawn eating. I could have started with rook d1, then went for the bishop a3 ideas. Probably I rushed it a little, because now I have two weak pawns. If my b5 pawn was like on a4, yeah, I would have done it. But in this case, the pawns get a little too weak, and I had to play too defensive. All right. For example, now let me ask you: should we take this or not? Opponent is kind of offering somewhat of a free pawn, They can get it back soon, but should we take it or should we let it be? The chat kind of got out of hand in a funny way. What did I miss? Anyways, yeah, we do have to take it. I agree. Also, small heads up, if you have games that you intend to share with us, start collecting them over on Elite Chess so we can play Gobble Gobble. Actually, send it on Twitch in about, I want to say 10 minutes. All right, so yeah, I kind of had to take it. If I don't take it, then d4 can get funny, and they can take it, so I had to take it. This one was not really a choice rather than a must. So, here, should we activate the knight? Yes. Yes, we should. The other option is queen f5, just because, you know, rook can't take, because the other rook would be lonely, the knight would have to take. I'll have to play knight c4 anyway, so I just went for knight c4 early anyways. And then after take, I went queen f5. Finally, push a little bit of pawns. And rook to b5. Well, to be fair, now in this position, I really thought that I had some more than I signed up for. And I played queen a4. That was a big mistake. I should have played, just a second. Whoa, hold on. Something like b7. Well, the queen doesn't take it though, because I don't have knight d6. Maybe queen c8. There we go. Because you just can't take it just yet, and if you take over here, then I can do b7. If you take it, then I can do knight a5. That would be a fun trick. And if you just play queen b4, then I could do knight a5, and I can try to keep eating a little material. To be fair, I'm assuming eventually something like, you know, this would have happened, then there's a pawn on a knight instead of a rook, and it's still incredibly hard to convert this. It's not winning just yet, but I think this would have been a better way to play it. Anyhow, I just played queen a4, and funny, I actually ended up winning this endgame. This is not a winning endgame, but the opponent actually has to get the king activated, and they didn't, and they just started pushing pawns. King activity, man. King activity in the endgame is really important. And long story short, this I just won. I'm gonna go real quick because I want to give you another game recommendation on this. Kind of funny how this is not a